You want to start talking about trains because trains fascinate the heck out of me. As a kid, I was a train
Mm,
fan, and I had a couple of model train sets growing up. And
mm-hmm.
I think I shared a story. It might have been on the
Yeah,
first
you
show.
mentioned that.
Yeah, exactly. So I have always been fascinated by trains, and uh, you grow up in a city like Chicago, and you've got the elevated train, the commuter train takes you around uh,
Yeah,
the city, and Chicago's downtown area is called the Loop because of the trains that make a loop around the downtown area, literally,
yeah,
and
yeah.
those trains have been around forever, um, and I think, boy, see, I should have this information with me. But I know New York system was built first, and Chicago started not long afterwards, like right just before the turn of the 20th century, both systems. But it was New York first, maybe another eastern city, Boston or Philadelphia, before Chicago, maybe. But I think it was New York and then Chicago, and then from there. And also, I found some great information on the history of railroads and trains in general, where it all started, and I thought we could go over that a little bit too. So
Well, I'm looking at Chicago. I'm looking at the Wikipedia earlier right now.
okay, all right,
It says they've got one, two, three, four, five, at least six different lines.
yeah, yeah,
And well, according the information is like I said, 145 stations.
hmm
And well, according to 2018, there's about 730,000 weekday riders.
yeah.
Believe
Those
it
that's an impressive number, but it was even larger in the past
or not. Because I
because
know some of the stations they've closed a number of stations down
yeah,
because of lower ridership.
yeah. When I was growing up, the well, first of all, currently the different lines are referred to by color,
Mm.
whereas in the
Yeah.
past when I was growing up they were referred to by their location
Oh, okay.
in the city. Like for instance, there was one line that went from Howard Street, which is the northern border of the city, just south of Evanston,
Mm-hmm.
and then went down to 63rd and Stony Island, which is near Jackson Park on the south side. So that was
Okay.
called the Howard Jackson Park line. That's now the Green Line. So then there was one that went from Lake Street on the Oak Park border on the west down into the loop, went around the loop, and then went up the northwest on near Milwaukee Avenue, if I remember right, through most of its line, and through a neighborhood called Ravenswood. That was
Oh,
called
okay.
the Ravenswood line. That is now the Brown line, and
Yeah.
then more recently, I can't believe I'm still doing. I know more about Chicago public transportation than I do San Diego public transportation, and I've been here 13 years. Go figure. But anyway, I rode those trains as a kid. We
Oh,
used
nice.
public transportation, and I knew those trains intimately. I lost a pair of glasses on one of those trains.
Oh, geez.
I had come home on a break from college, and I was dating my first true love.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Her name was Monica, and we were. It was I was home for winter break. Between it was between essentially Christmas and New Year's. I think it was like mid December. I think I was home and went back in mid January. So we were on the train and it was freezing cold. The heat was not working in one of the cars.
Oh
So
boy.
we thought, well, let's move to another car and see if it's warmer. Well, that was a common occurrence, unfortunately, on the Chicago elevated trains. The
Mm.
heat wasn't always working in the winter. So we were walking between cars while the train was moving. Not always a
Mm-hmm.
smart thing to do, okay, because it was snowing and the wind was blowing.
Oh
Okay,
boy.
and so we're working between cars, and the trains, of course, they're not stable, all right? So the train, you got the train noise going in the car, the cars are swaying back and forth. and Monica crossed over, no problem. I'm crossing right behind her, and I kind of slipped slightly, just enough for the glasses to fall off.
Oh boy.
Lost forever. So I spent the rest of the winter break, blind as a bat until I was able to get some more glasses, get replacements, and kind of ruined the whole. Most of the time I was off because without my glasses, I'm useless, basically. So, but those trains have been around since. You've got the Wikipedia page still.
Well,
When did
according to this,
Yes.
well, I'm just looking into the history.
Yeah.
It says.
That was
Yeah.
yeah.
It says the first L,
Yeah.
quotation marks,
Yeah.
the Chicago and South Side Rapid Transit Railroad began service on June 6, 1892.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I thought it was the
When a
1890s. Yeah.
locomotive pulling four wooden coaches, carrying more than couple of dozen people, departed the 39th Street station and arrived at the Congress Street terminal 14 minutes later over tracks that are still in use by the Green Line.
Okay.
And then it kind of expanded from there.
Yeah. That's interesting. 1892. I thought it was.
Mhm.
I would have guessed a little later, like 1896 or 1898, but 1892, huh?
Yep.
Okay, just for laughs, go ahead and see when New York started their elevated and subway system, because I'm pretty sure it might have been the 1880s, possibly.
I thought New York had theirs since about 1906.
I think it might be older than
subway,
that.
I mean.
Yeah, the subway, yeah, 1906. But when did they actually start their elevated line? Because I think theirs predates Chicago.
I'm working on that.
Okay,
Give me a second.
sure, no problem.
Oops. Let's see here. There you go. Something about they call it now the IRT Third Avenue line.
Okay.
Let's see here. There we go. August 26th, 1878.
78. Okay. Wow. All right.
1878.
Yeah. Gotcha. So it does predate Chicago's by a little more than I thought.
I even heard there's I know on the New York subway they actually have closed stations.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's one station that they opened, but they had to close it because the platform could only hold 4 cars, and the New York subway trains now are 5. There are 5 cars.
Okay.
So
yeah.
They don't use it to turn the train around.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And as getting back to the Chicago elevated line, I've seen it shown in at least one movie called I think it was called The French Connection.
The French Connection. Now, see, I thought that was set in New York.
Well, I think. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. My mistake.
But now Chicago's elevated trains have have played the role of other city systems. So they could have shot those scenes in Chicago. Yeah.
And I think that it also shows up in a very old video game. We are probably not familiar with it, but
doesn't ring a bell.
Well, again, it's an old game for the original PlayStation.
Sure. Okay.
PSX. That's super old.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you might find it interesting there, Juan, but and you also have Chicago Union Station. You can go watch Amtrak trains as well as Metro trains.
I know Union Station well. I passed through Union Station on my way out here. Of course, I had experienced it quite a bit growing up and living in the city. But when I left the Midwest to come out to California, I actually left from Cleveland, Ohio, and changed trains at Union Station in Chicago, a station that I knew very well, and had like a couple hours to kill while I was in Chicago. And so kind of walked around some of the old haunts over to what used to be Sears Tower, where I worked for a number of years. And it was called the Willis Tower, but I think Reddy mentioned that they've changed the name again. Didn't they? Are you there, Reddy?
I am, and I'm not really
Okay, because I thought you had mentioned that they had changed the name of the Willis Tower.
Well, according to Wikipedia,
Yeah.
it's still called Willis Tower.
Okay. Yeah.
But then again, that article is old.
Right. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, because I'm an old fart, it'll always be Sears Tower.
Mm. Anyway, getting back to the train thing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, the most powerful diesel electric locomotive here in North America, 6,000 horsepower.
And which locomotive was that, and where was it used?
That's General Electric's AC 6000 CW.
Okay.
As far as I know, the Union Pacific Railroad was the only one to purchase those.
Okay.
Well, no, wait. Sorry. A company called CSX Transportation had them as well.
All right.
But, not for long.
Mm-hmm.
See, at one point in time, Juan, you had 6 different diesel electric locomotive manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
But
Excuse me.
some of the other ones,
Yeah.
they were built steam locomotives originally, and then switched over.
Right.
So, but again, and it didn't last long.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, unfortunately, none of those companies are still existing in their original forms now. Because I know that General Motors sold its electromotive division in 2005.
Right. Yeah.
And
they had a huge plant in Chicago, electromotive.
Well, I thought the only two that I had I thought they only had it in a place called the Grange and London, Ontario, Canada.
They had it. No, they did have a plant in the Chicago area. I can't remember if it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was in the city itself or in one of the suburbs, but there was an electromotive plant in Chicago. It was a huge employer, and when it shut down, a lot of people, of course, out of work.
Well, I know for the one here in London, Ontario. You know what happened? As soon as that plant closed, 3,000 people lost their jobs.
Sure, yeah.
Just major blow.
Yeah. I don't know that it was quite that many when the plant closed in Chicago, because I think they had been, slowly winding it down. But still, there probably were close to 1,000 people who lost their jobs when it finally closed for good.
I know there's some pretty iconic locomotives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got one called I have seen one called the Shark Nose.
Okay.
That's if you want to Google that, go. I have to write it down. Something called Baldwin RF-16. I heard there's only 2 of those left.
Ah, okay.
Although they're going to be going to a museum at some point.
That was a Baldwin RF-16?
Yeah.
Okay.
You should get a Wikipedia article on it. What's another one? I'm trying to think. I know there was one locomotive that literally could not stay on the tracks.
Uh-huh.
That was called the EMD SP. Hang on, just a moment. Oh yeah, EMD SPP 40F. That's what it was. You see, that was there. That's it right there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's and like I said, I know toward the later days of steam locomotives, you actually had streamlined steam locomotives.
Okay.
Which were, it didn't work, but it was still neat to see.
Yeah.
And I guess, what's the other one? One of the biggest was the American Locomotive Company's, what is it? Oh yeah, 4884 Big Boy. So it's one of those operating now. You have to, if you can, Google something called UP 4014. That's the biggest locomotive ever. And that thing's almost 80 years old.
Okay.
It's another one. Oh yeah. I have heard of a locomotive that got turned into a hotel. Isn't that neat? Huh?
That's interesting.
Yeah, there you go. That's 4014 right there.
Okay.
Restored the service in I think sometime in I think early spring to about late summer of 2019.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Unfortunately, it's Union Pacific does have one other articulated locomotive. It's called 39885. It's a slightly smaller, although that unit is got some serious mechanical issues.
I
So I
see.
don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They don't. People are still not sure what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the one. Look up one called. That's the other one I was talking about, called GN441. That's an EMD F45 that got turned into a hotel.
Okay.
That
All
like I
right.
said, it was
Let's
built in
see.
June in 1968 and produced. Yeah, 3,000 horsepower.
Wait a second here. Let me see. Okay, they don't have well, they do have a picture. It's not a great picture, but let's see what we can get out of this. Let's see.
That's in like I said, GN441 is in Essex, Montana.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the other one other particularly famous steam locomotive is Southern Pacific 44449.
Okay.
Wow. Well, one thing at a time. Because I heard that, interestingly enough, 4449 was actually a movie star. It showed up in the 1986 film called Tough Guys. I wish I could find that on DVD, but I've been trying, but
Yeah,
it's not a very good. The search has not been successful.
I see. All right, let's see how this works.
There it is.
There we go.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
All
here's
right.
the thing, Juan. That unit was custom painted. Yeah, you can stay in that locomotive,
Okay, cool.
although it doesn't come cheap.
I'll bet.
It's about, from what I read, it's about, like I said, it's $150 a night.
Okay.
Like I said, the place behind it, called the Essex Walton Inn, was originally built by the Great Northern Railroad.
Okay.
Well, the American Great Northern Railroad.
Yeah.
Then they sold it off to private hands.
Okay.
And, although the interesting thing about Essex, Montana, their one, it's the helper station.
Okay.
Where they add locomotives to trains to help it over the summer of Summit Marias Pass.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, you can see like C44-9Ws, AC 4400 CWs, even rebuilds.
Okay. Okay.
And interestingly,
what would you like me to bring up next?
well, I have to find it.
Okay. Sure.
I know. Well, there's also a locomotive called the MK 1200G.
Okay.
You should find it.
Yeah.
Those are locomotives designed to run on liquefied natural gas.
Ah, all right.
Which is, mind you, they're old now.
Yeah. Let's see.
Mind you, interestingly enough, the first one was actually built on the frame of an EMD DP9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I mean, they've been around for some time.
All right. Let me grab this one. I think this will be a decent shot. And there we go.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's not the first one, but it's
Right.
That's part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. For those who are watching, the lettering on the hood there says fuel for your. Well, it says it's an an environmentally friendly unit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's long since out of service now.
Yeah.
I heard it was sent to the scrapyard,
Now,
which
you'd
is not.
think in this day and age, with all the concerns about the environment, that something like this might go back into service or something
Well,
similar.
again, I mean, locomotives are like cars. The older
Yeah.
they get, the more time they need to spend in the maintenance yard.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean, and it's expensive.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, look at it as I said. I mean, you got to look at it from a real, like a, like a like a chief executive officer of a
Yeah. Yeah.
railroad rather.
Mm-hmm.
You've got two choices, right? You can either spend money to keep an old locomotive operational,
Right.
or you can you can spend money on newer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
because I know for a fact that well, I know England's well, just about everybody's heard of England's HST 125 trains.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, when they went out of service,
Yeah.
those were almost 45 years old.
Well.
I mean, and like I said, they're about time. And not to mention that the passenger cars they had,
Yeah.
they could only so much waste.
I see. Okay.
So they're gonna have to, like I said, there was the article about somebody about sanitation workers going on strike,
Mm-hmm.
and then leaving however much human waste on the railroad tracks for like however many weeks.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Again, they have to solve the problem.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Oh yeah, I've also found something rather interesting. Believe it or not, one Canadian Pacific CP Rail
Yeah.
actually has the locomotive numbers for the D-Day invasion.
Really?
Yeah, just Google CP 6644.
CP 6644.
Yeah,
Okay. Let's check that out
look it up.
for sure.
It's a really neat looking locomotive.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see what this brings up here.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a great picture, but
Okay. I've got a couple choices here, and unfortunately, many of them aren't very great.
well, like I said,
let's see. Let's see.
Brandon says that I'm making you work today.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Don't mind at all. What the heck? Oh, this one might work. I think I might have found a winner. Let's see.
Let's give it a little bit of time.
Okay, here we go.
If anybody wants to know, I'm watching an old episode of the TV show called Ghost Adventures.
How's that? How's that one? I'm going to bring it
That's
up
pretty good.
full screen there, or close to full screen. How's that? There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, guys, that's an SD70 ACU rebuilt from an SD90 Mac. They said that because those even locomotives have emission controls. And in case you're wondering, the thing they're pulling, that's called an auto rack.
Okay.
They use them to carry. I mean, I bet. Well, not that you ever plan to, but you could drive your car. You could quite literally drive the car into that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen those on European trains.
Well, again, these ones, you want to keep them. Railroads want to keep brand new cars from, safe from damage and vandalism
Sure.
and theft.
Yeah.
So that's why they came up with the enclosed carrier like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although sometimes, interestingly enough, some of them can actually carry up to 15 vehicles alone.
Okay. Excuse me.
Yeah. And although the latest one now is an articulated auto rack.
Okay.
I have to find. I think they're called Automax. They've been around since 2013, so they're not. I mean, they're not new, but they're newer.
Right. Sure.
I was going to say. And interestingly enough, one
Mm-hmm.
the railroad couplers they use,
Yeah.
I think they're called the Janney type. They've been around since 1865.
1865. Huh?
Yeah,
That's
I heard they're up to Type F now.
okay. Yeah.
I think every car has has a lever that
Right.
releases the knuckle.
Yeah.
So I think Type F has it underneath,
Okay.
so you don't put your hand at risk.
Right. So they've
Well,
always been improving them. In other words, they're not using the
well,
same ones from 1865. Obviously.
no.
Yeah. Sure.
They
Sure.
actually, I forgot where, but I think it was on a YouTube channel called Mobile Instinct. They
Uh-huh.
actually have a place where a railroad tunnel has
Okay.
actually been sealed with a locomotive and 10 cars still inside it.
Okay. Yeah.
I have to find out. But
Yeah.
oh yeah, Mobile Instinct fellow has
Uh-huh.
also been to the site of the United States worst accident ever. Because I know it's in Washington State, by the way. See, at some point in 1910,
Uh-huh.
you had an avalanche at the town of Wellington, Washington,
Okay.
and it literally knocked two passenger trains off the tracks,
Wow.
and unfortunately, 96 people died.
Wow. Wow.
I think you said if you could still go down you could go down into that valley, you can still find.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. Wow. That's amazing.
You can still find relics.
Wow.
Although, as it is now, there's a big concrete snow shed there,
Okay.
and then because that was the original transcontinental route.
Uh-huh.
Because again, they just finished the American Great Northern Railroad.
Okay.
They just finished that 10 years earlier.
Yeah.
They had just opened the first Cascade Tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So up until then, back in that Washington, they had to actually use switchbacks to get up. And you know what a switchback is, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You're reasonably familiar. So, although that original Cascade Tunnel was actually abandoned.
Okay.
Oh, well, they built a new one in 1929. So, the way it stands now, that tunnel has been abandoned for quite some time. Heard it's close to people. I'm not surprised, considering that it's dilapidated.
Sure. Sure.
I mean, the question is, well, obviously you wouldn't go into a place that's dangerous.
Not intentionally, put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, they did have something I was going to try and move on here, but you might be interested to know one that railroad freight cars, the length of them, can really vary. I mean, they can be as short as 24 feet.
Yeah.
And I myself have a model train car in real life. 345.
Okay. What determines the difference in the length? Is this a type of cargo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Type of cargo.
Sure.
Because if you're using the wrong size car, you're gonna have problems.
Right.
And interesting thing about Washington, I've actually seen planes and garbage being transported.
Okay.
Because I know that BNSF Railway, or at least used to. I don't know about airplanes. They used to take it from. Used to take 737 assemblies, or at least the bodies anyway.
Right.
They take it from Seattle to Renton.
Okay. Yeah.
And like I said, and they take trash out of Seattle as well.
Yeah.
They use they use shipping containers as dumpsters.
Yeah. Now that disaster that happened in Washington, you said that was that the worst train disaster based on
Well, at least for that time period.
For that time period, right? Okay. Yeah.
Because I know Wikipedia has every major rail accident in the world.
Okay. All right.
I mean, they even mention a place called Fox River Grove, Illinois.
Okay. Sure.
if I remember correctly, there was it was a metro train actually slammed into a school bus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think they also mentioned in the Amtrak's big bio canard accident as well.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Well, the Fox River Grove one sounds familiar. Do you recall when that happened?
Sometime in the 90s.
In the 90s. Okay. Yeah, that's ringing a bell. I'll bet if I looked that up, I could,
Yeah,
find
as I
some.
said, with the thing with that big bio canard accident is that it was a barge being pushed by a tugboat, hit the bridge, and
And
knocked the railroad tracks only 38 inches out of alignment.
all right, this one is sounding familiar too. Now, when did that one happen?
1997, I
Okay,
think.
yeah. What? Yeah, I remember that one. Actually, something interestingly enough, something similar happened on the Chicago River back in the late 90s that flooded
No,
the entire loop.
well, I was wrong. I was wrong. The big bio canard accident happened in 1993.
Okay, all right.
It was the what was it? Oh yeah, it was Sunset Limited.
Okay, yeah.